Welcome to No Broken Legs. I am your host, Evan Belfiore, and today we continue our journey through the NFL divisions with the NFL East. Joining us to find you the winning bets, keep you in the cash, and out of a cast is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, how are you on this Sunday late afternoon, early evening?
Man, I'm doing great. Me and my daughter spent some time today seeing the play 6 about Henry VIII's wives. It's pretty incredible. If you have a chance, I'd suggest it. And the only thing worse than 6 wives may be the NFC South. I don't know.
Almost everybody I know that goes to theater performances has taken a picture at 6, so it must be really popular, so it must at least be pretty good.
It's pretty good, and it's 80 minutes, no intermission, so it's like quick. Like
that's a nice small commitment.
Not a lot of filler, but it's a pretty good show. Not as good of a show as the Philadelphia Eagles, though.
They should probably be pretty good this year, and the Philadelphia Eagles are the favorites not just in their division but in the NFC. They are plus 800 to win the Super Bowl, plus 330 to win the conference, minus 115 to win the NFC East. To make the playoffs, yes is minus 400, no is plus 400. Their over-under sits at 11.5 now, Jimmy, plus 108 on the over, minus 115 on the under. Do the Philadelphia Eagles continue their winning ways? Do they win more or fewer than 11.5?
Oh, I got them at 13. I think they're 13 easy, and that's if they split with the Cowboys and lose to the 49ers, Bills, and Chiefs, which I don't think they'll lose all 4 of those games. I don't know what the 11's about. 11.5's about. I think they are far and away the best team in the NFC. The only worry on offense is if maybe Jason Kelce or Lane Johnson get old and injured, but I love DeAndre Swift at running back to go with Gainwell and Penny. The offense is great. Maybe if they had a little bit more depth at wide receiver or tight end. But if they stay injury-free, I don't think it matters. I've got them at 13 easy, dude. I don't see – the 11.5 isn't even kind of scary.
I'm with you 100%. We talked about it in one of the previous podcasts that there's always half a dozen teams that win more than 11 games. And the Philadelphia Eagles look like they're primed to do that. I've traditionally been a Jalen Hurts, I guess not really hater, but just a prove it to me guy. Yeah. And he more than proved it to me. That Super Bowl performance was excellent. He made the one mistake on the fumble. That was the difference in the game. And it's crazy to think that they just added probably the best defensive line prospect in the last few years to a defensive line that Jordan Davis didn't play in that Super Bowl, folks. That dude is an absolute beast on the defensive line. They're just so good up front. That they're just going to be really tough. Nick Sirianni's a good coach. Those guys love playing for him. They love everything they can do to make Jalen Hurts look better and prove doubters like me wrong. They play the AFC East and the NFC West. You just look at like how is Seattle going to be able to move the ball and score enough to keep up with Philly? Like those, that looks like 3-1. Even though I think Seattle's a pretty good team, and when you look at the NFC West, like do the Chargers have enough to hang with this Eagles team with the way I think they're going to play this year? You brought up wide receiver depth. But when you have 2 great wide receivers up front like they do with Goddard at tight end, one of those guys can miss a couple of games and you can kind of be okay. I think the idea of letting Miles Sanders go was a good one. I had him in fantasy last year, and it was just – I don't know. He was really disappointing. You always felt like the other guy was better. And in a league where you have a lot of running backs that are out there, you can replace that talent, and Jalen Hurts looks like he can cover up a lot of warts with running back talent. So I love this team. I like this team. Just you can bet them across the board and be happy.
Yep. I think with what they're going to do to the Lions in week 1, you're never going to get plus 800 on them to win the Super Bowl after week 1.
Oh, man.
I just think it's the best odds you're going to get on this team. Bet them now if you think they've got a chance, because I don't think it's going to get any better at any point during the season.
And just a reminder that DraftKings has the plus 200 odds increaser. It is a $10 max bet, but you can get the Eagles bumped up to 1,000 to 1, and that $10 can win you 100.
There you go.
That sounds like a move that could be worth making.
Yep.
I don't really know what else to say about Philadelphia. They're
Yeah.
going to just wreak havoc for teams up front. And I guess what we're all hoping for is that them and San Francisco meet in the NFC Championship game at full health, and we get a chance to really see who's better.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun. I would love to see that, because that was just a bummer when everybody got hurt for San Francisco. It just took a lot of air out of that game. But man, the build up for that this year is going to be a lot of hype, a lot of excitement, and considering how bad the rest of the conference is, it's probably going to happen. The only team that I think has a real legitimate shot at crashing that Eagles-Niners party is the Dallas Cowboys. They are plus 1,500 to win the Super Bowl. They are plus 650 to win the conference, plus 195 to win the NFC East. To make the playoffs, yes is minus 210, no is plus 195. Odds are a little weird on the over-under. 9.5 over is minus 162, but 10.5 under is minus 143. That tells me they think this is a 10-win team and nobody really knows how to put the line. Jimmy, do the Dallas Cowboys win more or fewer than 10 games?
To me, their floor is 10 and the ceiling is 12. And normally I would just go whichever side the better action is on, but there's not good action on either side.
No, so, there's just so many Dallas Cowboy fans. They're one of the few fan bases that can sway a line half a point to a point. Yeah. And I'm totally with you. I think their floor is 10, so I think you can confidently bet the over, and worst case scenario, you break even.
I agree. Offensively, the team is loaded with weapons. I think Brandon Cooks could be a PPR monster. Lamb will continue to be great. They don't have a lot of depth at O-line where they've been hurt a lot recently, so that's weird. And I also feel like there's world symmetry to having Brian Schottenheimer be Mike McCarthy's offensive coordinator. It'll just be mistake on top of mistake.
That is tempting fate in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it sure is. And then I just think the second Dak is even perceived to be a problem, you're going to have the Trey Lance circuit start. Even though Trey Lance hasn't proven anything, it's still going to be there, and I think it's just going to be a distraction, especially with the way that Jerry's I didn't care what anybody thought, I was bringing him in. Defensively, they're very good. I do think Micah and Diggs, they need to dial back all the gambling on plays, because that's when the defense gets exposed. And I do think they play some good offenses, but I really do. I look at their schedule, I see 10 to 12 is their radius. I'd be shocked if they only won 9 games. It would really surprise me. I think it's a really good team, but I think they'll be, once again, like any other team he's coached but one, they'll be stopped by Mike McCarthy.
Totally agree. I think they're the third best team in the conference, which means they're going to be behind Philadelphia and San Francisco. So they're everything I said about the Eagles in the NFC West, you can say about Dallas. I don't know how those 3 teams outside of San Francisco are going to be good enough offensively to really compete with them. And you look at the AFC East, they have a defense that can shut down pretty much all of those offenses. And we know Josh Allen can be up and down.
Yep.
What do you think the chances are that the Cowboys end up having the best defense in the NFL? Because that seems like their best chance of dethroning Philadelphia and San Francisco for conference supremacy.
I don't think they have the guys to have the best defense in the NFL or the NFC. I just don't. I think San Francisco and Philly both just have more talent on that side of the ball. I think they can be 2 or 3, but just with what Philly added in the draft, I just don't think the Cowboys can match that defensively.
I think you're right. I think you're right. They're a good team. They're kind of like Buffalo in the AFC. They just somebody's got to be third, and right now it looks like it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
And even if Dak seems to struggle, I know he threw a lot of picks last year, but I just don't know what you're getting out of Trey Lance. I think it's a trade you can make for the capital that's involved, but I don't know, man. Dak Prescott looks like he's going to be a free agent, and he's going to get a massive payday from somebody.
Yeah.
And we saw what happened last year with Lamar Jackson. A lot of questions about whether, did he sit out games because he was worried about his contract? Nothing's proven, but that's out there, and perception can become reality, and that can happen real quick for the Dallas Cowboys because they're they're just under a different microscope when it comes to the media.
Yep.
The only place that can really rival that Dallas Cowboys media scrutiny is in New York City, and that is where our next team resides, the New York Giants. They are plus 6,600 to win the Super Bowl, plus 2,800 to win the conference, plus 900 to win the division. To make the playoffs, no is minus 190, yes is plus 180. Their over-under season win total sits at 7.5, plus 103 on the over, minus 105 on the under. Jimmy, the Giants surprised pretty much everybody, including us last year. They found their way into the playoffs. Do you think the New York Giants can repeat that success? Do they win more or fewer than 7.5 games?
I think they have a huge range of outcomes, but I'm predicting them at 7 wins, so I'm taking the under.
I'm with you. I wave the white flag on Jalen Hurts. I will never wave the white flag on Daniel Jones. He is not an NFL quarterback. He is an NFL running back. Everybody saw it last year, which is why they got out to that hot start with the quarterbacks running. We saw other teams have success with that, Atlanta specifically. They were able to keep a lot of games closer than most of us thought they would be, and they snuck some wins. But as the season went on, teams adapted, except for the Minnesota Vikings, who just decided to give Jones open lanes. But when the Giants had to face a real defense in Philadelphia, that was a bloodbath. Like, Philadelphia just kicked the shit out of them.
Yep.
I think the league's adapted. They know to keep Daniel Jones in the pocket. I don't know what to think about Brian Daboll. They're tied to him now for 2 years, or they're tied to Daniel Jones for 2 years. So I don't know what more there is to get out of him as a player. I don't know how much growth he can make as a thrower inside inside running an offense.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I do think Darren Waller might get 7,000 catches this year. Like there were actually days where they had to sit Darren Waller so Daniel Jones would throw the ball somewhere else. But I think Darren Waller.
That's hilarious.
Waller, Barkley, and Matt Breida might be the 3 best receivers on the team. So that's weird, but I agree with you. I think if you keep Daniel Jones in the pocket, he can't really throw downfield, doesn't really have weapons to go downfield. I think Darren Waller's going to get a ton of catches around the line of scrimmage. And it is an old school, weirdly built team. I like Wink Martindale at DC. They do have some talent on defense, but not enough to win games against the Eagles and Cowboys. Like I just
tough because you're probably looking at 1-3 in those 4 games, if not 0-4.
I think they're 0-4 in those games.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. It's really tough for the Giants to score against good defenses, especially ones that see them as frequently as Philadelphia and Dallas do. Well, that leaves us one team left. The big news out of Washington is Daniel Snyder's creepy ass is no longer the owner of the team. They may be the Commanders. They may not be the Commanders before long. I don't know. There's rumors that they're going to have to change their name again. We'll keep you posted on that. Are we still pro? We're still pro Armada, right? Like that would be our choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They should just go with the Armada. Sell me some merchandise, please.
Yeah, shut up and take my money. Something you don't want to be putting any of your money on is Washington to win the Super Bowl at plus 8,000 because that's just not going to happen. Plus 4,000 to win the conference is also a throwaway bet. Plus 1,700 to win the division. To make the playoffs, no, minus 340. Yes, plus 310. Their over-under win total sits at 6.5, plus 110 on the over, minus 115 on the under. Jimmy, feels like this might be it for Ron Rivera, who has been a mostly good coach. Can he work some magic here, or are the Commanders looking at another season of 6 or fewer wins?
I mean, I got them in the 3 to 5 win range. I think they're a bad team, and I feel about the Armada the way I felt about the Jets last year. I think the roster is actually pretty talented, but they just don't have a QB. Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett are not it. They do have some good skill guys, and they have one of the better front sevens in the league, but they're going to face so many plays, it's not going to seem like the defense is any good. So, I mean, this is an under for me. This is an easy one. I really think they're in the 3 to 5 win range.
I agree. I said in one of the previous podcasts, not just do the algorithms overrate or underrate the win totals for good teams. They overrate the win totals for bad teams. I think Wisconsin. I think Washington's a bad football team, like you said. They don't have a good quarterback. They have pieces, but this feels like a year where they just need to get through the year with a new owner, figure out what they're going to do moving forward next off season, and just get some distance between the disaster that has been Daniel Snyder's ownership.
Yeah, absolutely.
Final thoughts on the NFC East before we wrap up here, Jimmy?
No, it's another one of those divisions where you've got two really good teams, and the Giants could be okay, but they're gonna lose 4 games in their division, which is gonna hurt them. And I mean, the Armada are one of the worst teams in the league, but I do think the Eagles and Cowboys are gonna be around at the end of the year.
Those are definitely the 2 best teams in the division. Really, the question is going to be which defense ends up being better, because they both have their strengths. They've got a lot of talent. I just think that Philly defensive line is going to terrorize teams. I don't know how you're going to be able to block all those guys, but
you can't.
somebody's going to have to.
The fact that the Raiders took a defensive lineman 2 picks before the Eagles is incredible to me. Like, that's something that's going to be talked about for a long time.
It can be right up there with the trading 3 picks to take Trey Lance. Or trading, was it 2 picks or 3 picks to trade up and get Mitch Trubisky?
I think 2.
Patrick Mahomes was on the board. Just saying.
You could have drafted Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes, and you were like, nah, we want Trubisky.
Give me the 1-year wonder.
Yeah,
some bad draft picks out there. Well, that wraps up the NFC East, man. This seems like a pretty straight division. We like 2 overs. We like 2 unders. Bet Philadelphia with confidence. I think that team's going to win a lot of money for a lot of people. And I expect Jalen Hurts. Dark horse MVP candidate. Did I just say that out loud?
I don't even know if it's really that much of a dark horse.
He threw the ball so well in that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He made some just pinpoint accuracy throws that had to be made, and that was really impressive. I've heard, Nick Wright thinks that they're rife for a regression to the mean, but I don't see how this schedule I don't see how that bears that out. I don't see where he's getting that from. Maybe they're not going to be as good as they were in that Super Bowl over the course of 17 games, but they can be 80% of that and still win 12 games with the schedule that they have.
Yes.
Well, that wraps up the NFC East. We still have the NFC South and the NFC North to go, Jimmy. We'll have our picks for the Thursday night game coming up in the NFC North preview. You can find links to our previous preview podcasts below. We have just put one out about the Browns roster cuts along with the NFC West. Links in the description below. Thank you, Jimmy, for joining me on this Sunday to talk NFC East.
No place I'd rather be, brother.
And I would like to thank all of you for listening. Drop us a like or a subscribe so you can keep up to date on our latest podcasts. For Jimmy Champ, I am Evan Belfiore. Thank you for listening to No Broken Legs.